I will just open for discussion from the public.
How difficult was it to unfold the tablet, the LED tablet?
I didn't have the privilege of doing this myself, but I did watch a couple of conservators at work, especially when I was in Jerusalem, and it takes quite a bit of time because you need to find out whether the lead is actually still pliable enough to bend back without snapping. So sometimes it can take, it's a process that takes hours. I don't know much more about it. Sometimes we will be told it's just not possible to unroll a tablet, so then we need something, another kind of technique to look inside, like we did, like it's happening with the Herculaneum scrolls, but it just depends on how good the preservation is, how quickly it can be done. Yes?
Is it actually possible to look into a scroll that hasn't been unfolded? Are there any imaging technologies to do that?
I'm not aware. Here we go.
I can answer that.
Please.
In terms of the LED scroll, of the LED tablet, there was unrolling by virtual tomography, which of course is difficult in the case of LED, because for X-rays LED is really poisonous. But they succeeded with the General Electric tomograph.
MRI or
that was done in
X-ray.
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 That was done in Hanover on a machine from General Electric, pushing the voltage up to 300 kilovolt. But it was only a small roll of that size, 1 centimeter in the diameter and about 4 centimeters. And they didn't dare to unroll it because it was too brittle, but they could really resolve the text. It was a Mendaic curse.
Okay, like yeah. Yes?
I have a question concerning, do you think there's a possibility to combine the RTI images with 3D representation of the objects? Because now you're just photographing one side, so to say, of an object and enhance the reading of that. But what happens if you have objects with text on two sides and you want to combine that? You see what I mean? So how you can enhance this or combine this technology and these effects with the 3D effects on other objects might have, like objects written on two sides.
Yeah, like a cuneiform tablet. At the moment, well, we would just have to open up a new RTI as a way of sort of viewing one side and one side, but to actually rotate it and turn it in a more realistic way. That is not achievable with RTI because it actually, I didn't quite explain, but it gives you the appearance of 3D, but there isn't actually any metric information there. Each pixel has the color information, the RGB information, and then the surface normal information, but it doesn't actually have metric information, if that makes sense. So, true 3D, I'm only aware of, I think it's just the stills being output from the viewer and then mapped onto a 3D model. Is there anyone else who can answer better how RTI images have been applied? But then that's I guess you would say pinned on or overlaying onto the geometry and fit as best as one can, but then the way that the light is behaving is going to be artificially produced based on the underlying geometry, not on what might be added detail that the RTI is providing. So it's a bit of a cheat, I suppose. This is now we're on the edge of my sort of knowledge in terms of bringing these two techniques together. So yeah, actually you might need to use both sort of side by side, 3D model, cuneiform tablet, and the RTI to clarify any particular details. But merging them together, I'm not aware of how successful that has been, unless anyone else has insight. Okay. Thank you. Good question.
I have a question, a
Please.
technical one. So you talk about how delicate is the field of photography. So you have to take a lot of pictures. If you don't take the pictures in the right way, you don't get a good product at the end. What about the editing part? What about the software processing one? I mean, is it long? Do you have to make something particular? Do you make mistakes? How does it work with the workflow?
Yeah, good question. I should say the capture process, there is like room for some flexibility, just so it doesn't, I mentioned that stability is critical, but if you are dealing with, let's say, a bit of graffiti that's quite close to the ground or in the corner, and you can't actually apply a full hemisphere of illumination because you're going to hit up against the wall when you try to apply the light, you're not going to get that part of the hemisphere if your target's here. You can still fit and get quite a good result just with 3/4 of the hemisphere, which might be an issue at Mahadra, but depending on where, so you can still, RTI can be quite forgiving on the one hand. But back to your question on processing, once you've taken your capture series, you then convert, and you should capture in RAW, convert to like a digital negative format, and then you need to output JPEGs because that's what the viewer requires, which is unfortunate because you get a bit of compression, you lose some resolution. There are reasons for that, but it's just adjusting exposure within a certain range so you don't lose information. Doing the white balance, converting to JPEG, and then things as basic as no spaces in the file name. And if you make that error, you'll figure it out because it won't work. Get an error, and you just go back and adjust. Rename your files, and then put them into the fitter again. And 7 years ago, I came out with my my PhD in early Egyptian writing, and almost nothing about photography or advanced digital imaging. And so, if I can learn how to do this, anyone can. So it's really nothing to feel intimidated by. There's a great community there to support you. There are guides online, how to capture, how to process. Just go down to the bicycle shop, get some ball bearings, get your camera out, and just play around for an afternoon and see what you can do. It's not overly difficult. There are training courses that are provided by, even by myself over at Tokoi. We did one last year, the year before. I'm doing a training in Cologne in a couple of weeks' time. Cultural heritage imaging out in San Francisco. Get out to the Bay Area and do some training with them. There are opportunities to become an expert. You too can become an expert. Yeah. Thank you. Other questions? Oh, your chair. Sorry. Yes.
Thank you. With the handheld lighting, it is quite easy to get the angle the wrong way. How much is this space of allowed error?
Yeah, the margin of error. You will notice quite quickly if you get vignetting. Do you know what I mean? But if you're directing a light source, to a target, and you're off, then you will get shadow in this area, or if you go this way, you get shadow in the upper area. So you'll quite quickly see that your angle is not great. So it's good to work with someone initially so you can see how good the light direction is. Even if you're off a little bit, when I'm doing it solo, and I don't have time to go back and check my laptop to see how it is. I'll do several shots in case I'm worried about my direction, and I just throw out the ones that are bad. But still, if you end up with some bad shots and you fit with them, you can still get quite a good result. It's, as I said, RTI can be quite forgiving, but you do want to try to, employ good practice, best practice as much as possible.
Any more questions? No. Then we can move to the wine. But before the time, again, I was thinking.
Anyone wants to have a go or have a play or look at other, I have seals, I have